my testimonies that I came to Christ a little over 3 years now. I'm not gonna say it's an easy task, it's an easy road, because it's definitely not, but it is one of the most beautiful things that I've ever done and that I continue to do. I didn't grow up in the church. I didn't really grow up in a very religious household. My family members, they would believe in God, but you know them by their fruit. So I went to university when I was about 19, and I didn't really have a solid relationship with God. I didn't really care for God. I didn't really know who I was. I was kind of trying to fit in or fit myself into the box that everybody else wanted to place me in. And it brought me down a very dark path. I began doing drugs. I started off with smoking weed, and moved on to smoking cigarettes. I also started taking pills, so that would have included Molly, ecstasy, Xans. I remember one time I believe I overdosed on Xans. I fell asleep for more than half of a day, and I didn't even realize what happened. But it's so interesting how the enemy works, because when that happened to me, I didn't think it was serious, simply because I was living in sin, simply because the enemy had control of my mind. It's after I came to Christ I was able to reflect on those things, reflect on those situations that I was in, and I realized that they were rooted in demonic oppression, they were rooted in evil, and there was one pivotal moment, that happened in my journey that brought me to Christ. And it was one night I was at the lowest of lows, the bottom of the pit. I was contemplating suicide. I was contemplating, why do I have to be feeling like this? Why do I feel so empty? Why do I feel so hopeless, so lost? And this was also at the height of COVID. So, there was no going outside, no talking with friends or whatever. It was really just me, my thoughts, and my experiences. Now, as I was going through this process of asking questions I've never asked before, I felt myself, like, imagine this, like a door. I felt myself nearing a door, and I knew once I opened that door I would never ever be able to close it. So it took me some time to come to grips with the questions, that were being posed to me. Some of them were, is God real? Who created this world? Are they good? Are they evil? If they're good, why is there so much suffering? Why am I in so much pain? Why do so many people have to suffer? A lot of hard questions. And in those moments, literally, like, the tangible presence of God filled the room. So as soon as I started to ask those questions, step outside myself, try to seek something more than what I see here on this earth, the Lord introduced himself to me. And if I were to describe that presence, the only word that would come to mind is love. It felt like a love that I've never felt before. It was like I got a big hug from the Lord. I've never been able to feel that feeling from anything in this world. No person, no thing, nothing. And as soon as I felt his presence, immediately I just started crying, because then I knew I have been living my life all this time without even acknowledging him, but he has still been there for me. Like, he has still been ensuring that he wake me up, ensuring that I'm taken care of. So many things. He kept doing so many things that I don't even deserve, and that in and of itself showed me how good he truly is. I wouldn't even really pray. I'd pray like when I want something or when something bad is happening and I want him to fix it. But even in those moments, he still answered my prayers. He still showed up for me. He remained God, and that brought me to tears, and it brought me to what I now know is a heart of repentance, because immediately as I felt this, I kept saying, I'm so sorry, and I felt his compassion for me as well, because I felt him telling me that, I'm sorry that you have to be going through this pain, but this is just how it has to go. This is a part of the journey. A lot of times people would look at my testimony, especially people who aren't believers, they would want to judge me, think thoughts of shame. But I'm not ashamed because God literally delivered me from all of that. I literally could have died on many different occasions.
So I remember in our past conversations, just kind of the viewers who are watching, basically give them an understanding of what you would have seen in the spiritual realm.
Right.
I remember a certain time you were probably, yeah?
Right, so going back to the night when I encountered the Lord, I was outside at 3 a.m., right? And I was smoking weed. I don't know what possessed me to go outside at 3 a.m. But if you know anything about the spirit, that is the time when the spiritual realm is most active. So I was outside and I was smoking, and I have been smoking for months, so this wasn't anything new to me. So I was out there and I started to feel uncomfortable. I don't know why. And then out of the blue, I started to feel another presence, like somebody was watching me. And I felt the presence, but I wanted to finish the spliff, so I just kind of tried to ignore it. But it persisted, so whatever was watching me was coming closer to me. And remember, at this time, I didn't know Christ. I was weak, spiritually, physically, the whole works. So I was open, I was an open door, right? And I was also partaking in smoking, which, opens yourself up to the spiritual realm illegally and the whole works. So, as I said, I was smoking, trying to ignore the presence, and it got closer and closer, and then I started to get scared. When I started to get scared, and I was like, all right, I need to go inside. I owed the spliff, trying to go inside, but you better believe whatever was out there with me followed me inside. Remember, as I said, I had no authority. I was weak spiritually, physically. I was an open door essentially. So whatever it is had legal rights to follow me inside. Now, I went inside and I went in the room, and the same fear was still on me. And it's like I could sense that presence was there with me in the room. I couldn't see it physically, but I could tell you exactly where it was and how big it was. And that's when the thoughts of, is God real? Who created the world? If he's good, if he's evil, if he's good, why may I suffer? All of those thoughts. And those thoughts started to cloud my mind, and immediately it's like there was a separation between my soul and my flesh. I started to ask myself additional questions like, why am I in this body? Why am I living this life? Why have I made the decisions that I've made? Is this how my life is supposed to go? And I sat with those thoughts for a while. It was quite a while, and I also wanted to sleep. I was getting very, very tired, but something within me felt as if I fell asleep, I wouldn't wake up. I don't know where it came from. I can't really explain it, but there was a fear, like a fear of death, like impeding death surrounding me.
And I remember there would have been another scenario another time where it's almost as if you had overdosed, and like you were sleeping for such a long period of time.
I was. So I think on that day I don't even remember how many pills I took, but I took a lot of pills, a lot of antidepressants, and I believe I was asleep for 16 hours. I don't even know when I fell asleep. I don't even know, what happened. I just woke up and it was the next day, like late in the next day.
So whilst doing your walk, did you find it difficult to, cause as you know, bad company corrupts good morals?
Right.
So during your walk, you found it difficult to like cut off some of your friends or move away from them?
It was, because remember the word calls us to die to ourselves. We put away, when you come to Christ, you're a new creation. So you put away the things of old and you put on the new cloak of righteousness, the new cloak of Jesus Christ. Now, again, the word also says that we are to be set apart, right? A lot of the friends I had, they weren't necessarily bad people, but they weren't after the same thing I was after. When I came to Christ, I made a decision to seek God, go after Christ, seek after righteousness. And if you're in that position and everybody else around you is going the other direction, it's going to be very, very hard. So you have to make a conscious decision to separate yourself. Yes, you're going to feel sad. Yes, you're going to mourn some friendships. Yes, you're going to miss them. But it's not to make you feel like, oh, I'm an outcast, or like, oh, God wants me to be lonely or bored. He wants you to be better. And you can't be better with the same people that you were doing sin with, the same people that you were sinning with, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. You have to actually stand for Christ and be proud and bold in standing for Him.
All right. And our concluding question.
Right.
So, Leanna, who is God to you?
God is, He's my life. He is my source of life. You know, the word Psalm 27 says, the Lord is my light and my salvation. He is the light of my life. Like, apart from God, I have no good thing. I cannot imagine what I would be like or where I would be if He didn't step in and save me when He did. I could go on and on, but yeah.